Celebrating the top 24, the top 10, down to the top 5, and we built this award in honor of our mothers. And we spent a lot of time doing research of, what drives our source of achievement and drive, what drives our goodness. We find that our goodness has always come from our mothers. And for every one of us to work to make our mothers most proud, we built this award in honor of our mothers as the highest honor you can get at Next Jump. And these pins are just temporary pins. Eventually, we're going to get better pins that look much more like the Congressional Medal of Honor with some gold and jewelry on it. But we'll pin these pins, and we have 5 individuals here with different stories, and we had 5 different peers go through interviewing. And so this is true judgment, meaning the entire company judged you. The entire company, you were judged by your peers, you were nominated, judged, interviewed, and these are the 5 people who won. And we'll be announcing the ultimate one winner, but the 5 we consider to be Next Jump Avengers. So these 5 individuals, Anil, so really quick, the long and short of it is because of him, many others succeed. People would not move as far or as fast without him. We have Henry from Boston. He is always helping others and always also manages to do his job incredibly well. Mike Walters, Mike always makes sure everyone is doing well. He's selfless and always working to better others. Takes time to get to know you and challenge you as well. Nadia, no task is too big or too small for Nadia. She has outperformed office management and gets a gold standard for everyone to exceed expectations in any role. And of course, Peter. I almost think Peter lacks the capacity to not help people. He is selfless. And so we're going to go through really quick, have each one come up, and at the end I will announce through an envelope which I think was audited by either PricewaterhouseCoopers, or maybe Grant Thornton or just the committee. But we'll go through and we'll take you through this really quick. So, first one.
So I have the unenviable task of speaking after Charlie and Jim Weir. So you'll cut me a little bit of a break, please. Anil, could you come and join me on stage, please? We also have a surprise visit from Anil's wife, Jenny. Jenny, you're here. As you'll see from my reading, Anil is not one who likes the spotlight, so it's a little bit painful for him, but he's going to get through it. So non-engineers probably don't know much about Anil's work. Simply put, I didn't know that much about Anil's work before I started this investigation. The bottom line is that Anil contributes to the health and well-being of our company on a daily basis. It has been an absolute honor learning about the intensity level that he brings to his profession. For those of you who don't know, Anil is a senior software engineer who's been with the company for a little more than 3 years. He works on the performance pod of the 7th floor, and he's also a Gemini. After reviewing many nominations for Anil and interviewing his peers, I can honestly say that Anil is the Incredible Hulk. In a good way. Bruce Banner involuntarily transforms into the Hulk whenever he becomes afraid or angry. Anil involuntarily transforms into an engineering Hulk whenever he sees a colleague in trouble or a system that needs to be fixed. Anil's rage is directed towards helping others and tuning our systems. As I dug into Anil's dedication to helping his peers, solving problems, and teaching others, I realized what a special guy we have on our hands. Nate articulated Anil's contributions best when he said, he helps many others succeed without taking any credit. Anil tirelessly helps others do great work. He is all guts and no glory. Our engineers would not be able to move as far or as fast without him. And I received dozens of examples of Anil's work while speaking with his colleagues. I knew the story would be great when I repeatedly heard people who didn't want Anil to get into trouble for having helped them. Common phrases included, don't tell Nate Anil helped me. Don't tell Strat that Anil rebuilt this feature. Keep this between us. Can I go off the record? Anil's work has helped me be a hero. The underlying theme that I found about Anil is that he takes a profound pride in helping others achieve their goals and helping our systems perform at their top levels. Like the Hulk, he seems to be drawn into these situations by an overwhelming force that helps him do good, even if it isn't part of his day job. For those of you who don't know, we have a network operations center that operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anil is one of a handful of people who the NOC relies on to solve mission-critical problems. On a recent Saturday evening, Steve William, the NOC engineer on duty, called Anil in a panic at 9 p.m. to solve a critical issue that was threatening to bring down our sites. It's not rare for people to call Anil at odd hours to help solve problems. The rare part about Anil is how he handles these issues. Many of us would be tempted to apply a Band-Aid and wait for Monday morning to get back to the problem. And then we could go back to being with friends or drinking or whatever it is that you do on a Saturday night. Not Anil. In this case, he worked with the engineer to help facilitate a better systemic approach to the issue at hand. Jenny, I know Anil probably does this pretty often. I want to thank you on behalf of all the next Anil's selfless dedication to building a better business, his stewardship of our systems, and his work helping his peers shine makes him the first of 5 highly honored 2012 Avengers. Charlie will now pin the Avengers Award medal onto Anil. And please join me in congratulating Anil for being a steward leader.
I have the pleasure today of speaking about Henry, so if Henry could come up and join me on the stage. And we have a surprise visitor for Henry as well, Henry's cousin Thomas, who came from Boston. I cry during episodes of Grey's Anatomy, so I get a little choked up here. Bear with me. So I have to be honest with you guys. When I first printed out the 48-page document of all the nominations, and yes, it was 48 pages, I counted. I think UA didn't number it on purpose, not to intimidate us, but the first thought that ran through my mind was, this is awesome that we got so many nominations, but I have to be honest with myself, integrity being important now, I think it's there. It's going to be really hard for me to vote for someone or nominate someone for this award who I don't really know that well, who I don't work with on a daily basis, who's maybe not even in the New York office. It's just going to be tough. But let me start by saying that this was the furthest thing from what happened. And the perfect example of that is about a quarter way through this 48-page document, I started reading nominations for Henry Litt. Henry's only been with NextJump for 2 years, but by the number of the nominations that he received and the length of those nominations, you'd think he'd been with NextJump since its inception. I was moved to tears by what I read, and read, and read. 2 quotes from Costa remain etched in my brain. Henry epitomizes a masterful teammate, and even though we aren't technically on the same team, I get a feeling we are fighting for the same side. Similar feelings were echoed throughout other nominations that poured in. Henry is always around to help anyone, at any time. His willingness to teach others and better others is unmatched. His service to others is beyond comparison. And every story wasn't just about a one-time event. This is all the time for Henry. But let me give you an example, a little story. Every next number here is familiar with what we call Super Saturday. Some of the guests may not know about this, but this is a recruiting event that takes place quite often throughout the year, maybe 3 or 4 times, where you have to give up your entire Saturday, come in at 8 a.m., you're here till 6, 7 p.m., depending on how long Charlie wants to speak afterwards. And there's drinks afterwards as well. So for people that have been here for several years, you've been to a lot of these Super Saturdays, and everyone knows here how much time Rachel and Terry and other people in the company spend putting together these events. But at the same time, we're like, oh, it's my Saturday, and it's sort of got other plans. And there's one specific Super Saturday that Rachel was describing to me, where a lot of people started dropping out last minute. And now we put together these career fair booths, and people were just like, I don't have time, I'm too busy, didn't put together the booths. So a day before the event, as they realized people were dropping out, they turned to Henry. And they said, Henry, can you please come with us? It actually was a New York Super Henry, so he had to travel from Boston. You know, he had a day and a half advance notice, and they asked him to come. Henry said yes, and without even skipping a beat, he said yes. Now, not only did he come to the event, in the ninth hour, Henry ended up putting together a board on his pod work so he could have a career booth. And I love this. He built a spin-to-win wheel and raffled off a t-shirt that said, I survived Super Saturday. He stayed up the night before, ironing on the letters for this t-shirt by himself. I mean, is this guy for real? This is incredible. He stepped in and saved his colleagues at the last minute and stepped up. Never once do you get the feeling from Henry that he's doing you a favor. He genuinely does things that benefit NextJump as a whole, all the time. So through this story and other examples, it became clear that when Henry works on a project, you know he's going to exceed your expectations. When Henry solves a problem, he finds scalable business solutions. He doesn't just find a short-term fix. After interviewing several individuals about Henry, the definition of an Avenger couldn't be more clear. Every day that Henry comes to work, he's building a better NextJump. And the people that he touches are truly grateful for the time that he spends helping them become better NextJumpers as well. So Henry, congratulations on being a top 5 finalist. You truly deserve this honor. Charlie will now pin you with the Avengers medal.
Now I'd like to ask Mike Walters to join me on stage. You may be a little jet lagged. We have a surprise guest for you, Mike. Would David Walters, Mike's father, please also join us on stage? I believe he's just arrived from Taipei. I'm so honored to introduce my colleague Mike Walters as our third Avenger. I was blown away by the passion of Mike's nominators. There are people who tried to keep me on international calls for over an hour just so they could tell me all about Mike's Avenger qualities. Let me give you some background about Mike. Mike was our third employee in the UK and began as an engineer over 4 years ago. He soon stepped up to run email operations because he knew that transactional revenue was important. Now, he didn't know how to make it work. In fact, he'd never done email marketing before, but he knew it was critical to the business, so he stepped up to the plate. When Mike sees a need anywhere, he will step in to fill that gap. He always acts and thinks as a caretaker of NextJump, putting the needs of the company and his colleagues ahead of his own. In the course of reading nomination after nomination, the theme that appeared in the testimonials we received about Mike is that he's a guy who makes people around him better. His mode of operation is to invest in other people's success. He is generous in using his creativity, his resources, and his time to figure out how to best inspire and teach others. One small example is what he did for Joe Ruggieri. Having heard that Joe was interested in a particular technology, Mike did the research to find a lecture on this topic. With his own money, he bought a ticket for this lecture, gave it to Joe, and then took him out to dinner afterwards. There are countless other examples of Mike's generosity to helping develop other people. I want to tell you a story that Anuj Nair, one of the engineers in the UK office, shared with me. He's right over there. So Anuj is an engineer who's never really taken care of his health. He's not even on Mike's fitness team, Team Walters. Completely unsolicited, Mike took it upon himself to help Anuj become stronger. In his free time, Mike designed a custom exercise and nutrition plan for Anuj, took him to the gym, where he gave him a tutorial on all the fitness equipment, and then trained with him regularly each week. He even cooked lunch for Anuj for a whole week, just so he could show Anuj how to eat well, literally calculating the number of grams of carbs and proteins Anuj would need to achieve his fitness goal. But what blew Anuj away was not that Mike cooked him lunch or worked out with him. It was that Mike helped him understand the why these things were important, and that has led Anuj to change his behavior. Mike exemplifies steward leadership on every level, from core business to human capital engineering. He lives the model of a better me plus a better you equals a better us, and that is why he is our third Avenger. Charlie will now pin Mike with his Avenger medal.
Nadia, will you please join me on stage? We also have amongst us Nadia's boyfriend, Florian, who's operating the camera back there. Florian will come up here on stage as well.
What does this thing look?
Before this award was to be called the Avengers, it was going to be called the Nadia Award. While that's not entirely a true story, what is very much true is that Nadia truly exemplifies the spirit of the Avengers Award. Her nominator Anjani says, "When I think of a next jumper who cares for and serves others and helps build a better next jump, one of the first people who come to mind is Nadia." I couldn't agree more. In fact, I could wax eloquent about Nadia's greatness all day long. But what better way to showcase her contributions than by sharing real examples that truly demonstrate her desire to help Next Jump and its people. In her Avengers nominations, I found story after story of Next Jumpers who had been touched by Nadia's thoughtful and kind ways. She once accompanied an injured Next Jumper to the hospital completely without prompting and stayed with him for hours until his wife arrived. She helped distribute the Christmas gifts for children of all the vendors that work for us. She was the one to begin the tradition of buying birthday cakes. She would see whose birthday it is, go to the best bakeries, sometimes as far as the Queen's, and come back with giant cakes. That was her own way to make us feel a little more special. There is one story in particular that really stands out in my mind. This story to me exemplifies why Nadia is such a big part of our success and why I'm continually inspired by working alongside with her. Rachel, who's working in our Boston office, was in New York on a Friday preparing for a Super Saturday hiring event. Nadia had ordered dinner for the team working late, and they were all eating together in Incredibles, our huge conference room with a huge conference table. Someone mentioned that it wasn't the best setting for conversations with potential new hires. Everyone agreed, but with so much to do on everyone's plate, they agreed and moved on. A few hours later, as Rachel was leaving, and this is late after midnight, she found Nadia in Mirage, a slightly smaller conference room. Nadia had gone around the office and pulled in Mirage all those extra tables and anything that could become a table, with the vision of creating a dining room for candidates. She had found tablecloths and had collected plants from around the office and set them up as centerpieces. Rachel says, "I just felt so lucky to work at Next Jump with someone who cares so much about the environment and the experience of future Next Jumpers." Nadia is an astute listener and actioner. I've often wondered how one person can do so many things. How can one person have so much energy, so much passion, so much enthusiasm? I might never find the answer to that, but it's clear to me that Nadia is the #1 caretaker of NextJump. She takes care of her employees and anyone who steps in our office. She's always answers a call for help and tirelessly puts others first to ensure their success and well-being. She's the last person to leave the building after picking the last piece of trash on the floor and then picks up fresh flowers for the office on her way in the next morning. In short, she goes above and beyond her call of duty every day, every hour. As a committee, it is our honor to induct Nadia into this elite team. Know that what you do makes a huge difference in our lives, and we are so very thankful to have you here with us. Charlie will now play Nadia with her Avengers Award.
I'm here to introduce Peter, so Peter, come on up. Of course, we have a special guest for you too, I believe. Your wife, Melissa, is here.
Oh, you're in trouble. She's the one in school.
So first, I'd like to give a little bit of context on Peter. Peter's worked at NextJump for 5 years. He first started out in our QA team, actually, and after that, he actually moved into become the head of talent management. A completely different change. And then he had a triumphant return back to become the head of QA very recently. So I had the pleasure of conducting follow-up interviews for Peter. I talked to a lot of different people and read a lot of heartfelt nominations from people across many different teams in all the different offices, actually. I heard many common themes about his patience, his work ethic, his sense of humor, and overall just his ability to bring teams together. Because he's in the QA team, he has that ability to work with a lot of different teams and help NextJump really succeed on the product side. Peter is always willing to do what it takes to make something right. This has been clear in the nominations, but also personal experience. Peter will go that extra mile to make something right. He'll give you feedback. You can take that feedback and he'll work on it and stay late and go as far as he needs to make it happen. I think the quote that best summarizes Peter's love of helping people is, I almost think that Peter lacks the capacity to not help people. He's selfless. It just rings in so true in a lot of different ways. One story that I think really illustrates Peter's love of helping people is, I'll give it. Peter has been a resident Excel expert at NextJump for a long time. Over the years, he's offered various NextJump University classes and workshops to help people learn the skill. Super Saturdays, many people have talked about, is our big recruiting event. Peter actually created the original Super Saturday spreadsheets and tracking dashboard that allow us to efficiently interview people and make a really efficient decision-making process. It's essential to our Super Saturday. When Marissa started as our Director of Health and Wellness, she actually didn't know anything about Excel. She was a complete beginner. Peter took it upon himself and single-handedly taught her Excel. He spent hours of his own time teaching her everything from the very basics to formulas and pivot tables. He didn't do this because he had to, or even just because he likes Excel. He did it because he truly cares about people and he loves helping people. He never asked for credit, but because of this and his efforts, Marissa was able to reach a whole new level of Excel, and she was able to do her job even better. This is just one example of very many that are fortunate to find out about. Overall, it's clear that Peter works tirelessly to build a better NextJump through his love of helping people and his selflessness. He's a true steward leader. I'm thankful to have him at NextJump. So join me in congratulating him.
some of you may not know, we had to hide the family members while Jim there was speaking. So they may have been in the storage closet for up to 3 hours. So we appreciate Mike's dad and wives and everyone else who came. So when we hire, the number one thing we look for is, will this person that we're inviting into our family, will this person look out for us? Will this person look out for our children, for our family, if we weren't running the company? And that's something that we look at as we hire. And I think going forward, we'll be asking the question, could this person become a future Next Jump Avenger? And so this is something that we're looking at, and we have 5 individuals who are our 5 Next Jump Avengers for 2012, but of course in Next Jump fashion we do compete as well. And so there is a winner, and I have an envelope here that will reveal the 2012 winner of the Next Jump Avenger Award, even though all 5 are absolute winners here now, and will be the guardians of the future Avengers of Next Jump. So I will read to you who won in 2012. So the winner is... Mike Walters.
I guess when the UK office gets to come over here, it's really, really exciting for us to meet everyone. The UK office is a really tight-knit team, and it's awesome for me to get feedback. But I could definitely say something about each of the UK team members where it's completely reciprocal. I think, and there's a lot of love in that office, and hopefully it shows in the way we work, the way we conduct ourselves. Thank you very much.
What Mike is getting as the Next Jump Avenger prize is an extra week of vacation, a $10,000 budget to rent a house. And by the way, this is a picture of an actual house I rented for $10,000. So it's not the hotel, the entire thing is the house. So $10,000 to rent a luxury home for a week so you can spend it with a family. We're also including $10,000 for travel costs. So for you to fly your family members in to spend the week with you. $5,000 for food and activities. We encourage family, not the office. Food and activities as well. And that's our Next Jump Avengers presentation. So thank you. So we have books, we have food, and then PS 450. It's on 450 Park Avenue between 30th and 31st.